white lies. In desperation, hard times, in conversations, no one should ever love me like you do.
Hey there, it's Kim from the afternoon show, and today we're talking with Bear Reinhardt from Need to Breathe. Welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here today. You've been doing music for a long time. Joy FM's been around 20 years, and you all have been a part of that. And so we just want to celebrate that a little bit together with you.
Yeah, I love it.
So, like, how would your best friend describe you?
I'm pretty serious.
Yeah.
Fairly driven. Yeah, I think that's those are the main tenets. And it's like if I only talk a lot when it's one-on-one, or you know what I mean, I'm one of those people. So I'm at the party with like one serious conversation in the corner. That guy.
No, I understand that. Clearly, you're an amazing songwriter. In the last year, I've heard you say, you've written over 100 songs, and I'm curious about the process a little bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of the chicken or the egg, but do you kind of have these moments where their ideas are floating around, or a certain phrase or a lyric, and then it just sticks with you, or how does a song get created?
Yeah, it's been fun. This last year has forced me to do some things I wasn't comfortable with, which is probably the answer most of the time.
Yeah.
It's like a thing you don't want to do, but I've always dreaded doing demos, because it's not really what I do. And Seth, and our band bass player, is a good engineer, and so I've always just kind of let him run with that. But being at home by myself, I was like, if anybody's going to hear these songs, I want to have to do something with them.
Yeah.
And so that's been really fun, and I've kind of let that be the thing, like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I'm working on making demos. I'm not writing songs, really,
Yeah.
It took the pressure off of the idea of, like, I'm turning this in. I know it doesn't sound great, but that's been really fun. I think I've come to think that, inspiration obviously comes from a million different places, and I can have that feeling, but a lot of times I don't have the actual thing from the song, the meaning of the song or the vibe of it, the chords, whatever, unless I put myself into a place ready to kind of receive it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
So I think there's a book I read about making your own art is what it's called. But it's like this whole idea of, can you go in and like make the room ready for inspiration to come in, as opposed to like, well, I'll just wait for the inspiration, and then maybe I'll go in there if that happens.
Yeah.
And so even in the book, I think he says something like, I prepare the room so that inspiration, when she comes in, won't soil her gown.
Oh, wow.
It's like this real sort of, so I've kind of gotten dorky with it, to be honest with you. I've kind of gotten like, I like candles, first thing. I have my coffee, I sit in the same place, kind of think about what it is that I'm doing, why I do it, kind of go through that, a little bit of like centering process, meditation kind of thing. It's really just, it's really honestly just putting my mind back on, like, well, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Getting ready. And then I go, okay, let's go off into the woods somewhere, so it's really childlike to me. It's funny. It's kind of like crossing your eyes or blurring, like trying to look at that picture or whatever. It's a little bit like that. There's just something about the vulnerability of that is most conducive, I've found. So that sounds super probably hippie and ridiculous.
No, I love it.
Yeah, that's kind of the process.
I think a lot of people are curious about how does that work? Is it, just an idea comes to your mind and then you go with it, or, so I think it's really interesting. Yeah,
I think you have to kind of allow, just like anything, just the space. If you want God to speak to you, sometimes you need some quiet. And I think there's an element to that with songwriting. It's really just kind of like clear out all this clutter and start listening.
Yeah, that's great. So, Bear 20 years ago, describe who you were.
Oh, okay. I was like trying to do the math there for a second. I was in college still, I guess. I was gonna get married the next year, so I was already engaged, probably, or dating a wife. And, my neck was about twice the size, and played football in college.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I looked ridiculous. Had a swoosh kind of haircut like everybody. I look back at like me and John Foreman had the same sort of haircut and style all during the same time. So that was me. Pretty intense back then too. And all the way in, I went to a school called Furman University in South Carolina and loved it. And that's where I met my wife. And
What was your dream then?
This was kind of it, to be honest with
Really?
you. Yeah. The band had already sort of formed, and an idea. We were playing probably 40 or 50 shows a year, maybe back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
So we had just like, there was all this stuff going on in music at the time that was very acoustic driven, and we sort of like, we just didn't know who we were at the time, to be honest. And we are kind of like, well, it sounds like Caedmon's Call.
Yeah.
It sounds like whatever,
I love Caedmon's Call, yeah.
So we were just doing the coffee house kind of like thing and trying to figure out what the sound was and write songs. And we were awful, but the name was still there.
Man, but that was such the vibe back then, was the coffee house. You know, they were popping up everywhere, live music.
The first time I brought out, so like the band became this rock thing live, you know, and electric guitars and all that. And first time I brought out an electric guitar, we had been playing this one play, I think it was called Carpenter's Cellar or something. This little coffee house, you know, 100 people.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, as soon as I play a guitar electric on one song, he's like, "This is terrible." You know?
Oh man!
And I was like, "Wait, I'm just trying it out."
Strumming, you know. Okay, 20 years from now, what do you see your goals?
Yeah.
Or your dream?
Yeah, it's interesting. We define success a lot we're actually about to go away and do a goals thing, me and my wife, and we're really big into that last 4 or 5 years. And
that's cool.
You look down the road a year, especially, but also 5 and 10. And what's the goal? You know, what are we trying to? And I jokingly say this, but it actually is like my real. I just want to be a granddad. You know, at the end of a table and have the kids not hate me.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Just be on relatively good terms. That would be incredible. And you know, it's the funny thing, because we've had children in the last 5 years, but now we have 3, and that seems insane to me. But you know, my wife was like, "If you want to be that grandfather, you know, you got to have kids."
Yeah.
Right, okay, let's get this going. So.
I mean, there's got to be such a pride of knowing like the legacy that is sitting around that table as a granddad, you know?
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, the truth is, if anything this last year has taught us is that we need people, and, you know, and so I feel like I'm like that. When I get pressured or nervous or having a bad, my first thing is to sort of retreat, you know, and I definitely part of growing up for me, you would think that would happen soon. I'm 40 years old now, but it's part of that has been realizing that it's just kind of like do the opposite of what you're thinking now. You know, get around people, and and I think that's hugely important.
So, what brings you joy then?
The kids do, for sure.
So can you tell us a little bit about your family?
I've got Wilder, Woods, and Waters, all W's. My real name is William, and everybody calls me Bear, you know, and I've always gone by that. So I didn't want to, and I'm the third, so I didn't want to do like 4, 5, and whatever that is.
Yeah.
So we just decided to go with the W's, and they are wild. The first one, Wilder, sort of sets the tone, but he's crazy. They're super sweet. They're all smiley, lots of characters, you know. So it's fun. It's pure insanity right now.
Yeah.
You know, everybody I say, I'm like, well, I've got 3 kids, they're 5 and under. They're always like, ooh.
Yeah.
You know, but it is really fun, and you learn so much about yourself. I think that's probably my favorite time, besides obviously seeing the kids smile or enjoy things, or like the lights turning on for them, and you know, is me and my wife looking at each other at the end of the day like, can you believe that just happened? That was our day. That was a normal day. You know, that's just
wild.
Like, so it's pretty fun.
One of my favorite games to play with my best friend's little girls are Cut the Pickle. Do you ever play Cut the Pickle?
No.
So you go, cut the pickle, and they cut it, and you go, tickle, tickle, and they just go crazy for it.
I like that.
To the point where I walk in the room and they're in the house and they just do this, Kim-Auntie.
Yeah,
you know, so like it's just
pretty fun. Yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, they're
time.
rough on the bed. That's, if you ask my son, he's like, "What's your favorite part about Dad?" It's rough on the bed. So fighting is kind of what they want to be.
Yeah.
But they say that like little boys, you know, it's like that's the way they show love, is that sort of physical contact.
Yes.
And ours certainly do. So
that's so great.
Yeah.
Well, is there something that you wouldn't mind playing for us today?
Yeah, of course.
I would love that.
Yeah. Why you lies in desperation hard times and conversations. No one should ever love me like you do. Sometimes my bad decisions define my false suspicions that no one could ever love me like you do. While I'm on this road, you take my hand. Somehow you really love who I really am. I push you away, still you won't let go. You grow your roses in my barren soul. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Last night, confidence was shaking my wounds, and my past was saying no one should ever love me like you do. While I'm on this road, you take my hand. Somehow you really love who I really am. Push you away, still you won't let go. You grow your roses on my barren soul. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? The way I push you, what you had to see. I'm a train wreck, I'm a mess. You see the best and the worst of me. Still I can't imagine that I've earned your trust, and I don't understand where your love comes from. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you? Who am I? Who am I? Who am I to be loved by you?